Hello, in this video, I am going to talk about where and when Urban Shade found the different monsters, the Hadal Black Site. This video is part of a playlist that is dedicated to the lore of Pressure. You can check it if you are interested in the lore or videos like this one. Alright, let's get into it. During the construction of the Hadal Black Site, the personnel reported seeing a creature made of dark blue and black smoke with an angler fish face. While attempting to capture it, personnel realized that if you break the angler's line of sight, it will simply just pass you because it is partially blind. Due to its appearance, it was named the Angler. Personnel then found another creature during construction. It was a lump of decomposing organic matters, chemically alike to plastic with various man-made metals. The creature also had a lot of eyes in its mouth, and it looked alive, which seemed impossible. It has a top speed close to that of a mid-sized marine predator, and its internal eyes are able to see small movements in long distances. 5 years after the Hadal Black Site was completed in 1974, workers of a logging company were doing some work in the Amazon forest when they encountered a species of human-looking organisms made of mostly plant materials like vines. The workers reported the incident, and Urban Shade was contacted, which sent agents to the area, and they discovered a total of 320 organisms. The organisms were then called the Divine. The Urban Shade operatives then took as many of the Divine as they could back to the Black Site, and then proceeded to execute all the logging company's employees that were there when the Divine were discovered. In order to ensure that no trace of the Divine can be found, Urban Shade burnt the entire area which the Divine inhabited. After doing this, Urban Shade told the public that a sudden forest fire had burnt a big part of the area and killed the logging company's employees. When more study was done on the Divine, Urban Shade discovered that the Divine produced better quality oxygen and at a faster rate than regular trees. With this discovery, the Divine were put into the oxygen garden and must be maintained like regular plants. Sometimes, certain Divine had been caught attacking individuals invading their space as they were someone they didn't recognize. Due to this, only designated gardeners are allowed to be near the Divine. Let's move on to the next entity. On September 2nd, 1666 in London, a mask was to be used for comedy in a theatrical play. As soon as the performer put it on, the performer's body was contorted and assimilated into a meat blob. The meat blob then consumed 710 out of the 725 people who were in the theater that day and then ran into the street. The blob met its end when it accidentally knocked a lit street lamp into hay, which caused a huge fire that burnt everything. This fire is now known as the Great Fire of London. 4 days after this, the mask was found, and it was stored in Buckingham Palace. This mask is now called the Mask of Sadness. Later in 1984, the Mask of Sadness was part of State Lead auction where Urban Shade personnel found it after reading a survivor's diary about the mask. Urban Shade bought the mask for $150,000 and kept it in storage for use during its scorched earth missions where they would put the mask on someone and lets them cause havoc where needed. In 1991, a 30-stud radius asteroid fell into the Atlantic Ocean, and Urban Shade sent agents to investigate, and inside it, they found Valcula void mass in form of a small glowing rock with a radius of about 2 studs. Immediately after discovering void mass, it started expanding and Urban Shade took it to the Black Site before it could become destructive mass. When the void mass was first brought to the Black Site, Urban Shade ran into a problem. The void mass would expand so much that at one point it expanded and outgrew its containment cell. Urban Shade later found a solution for this, the anti-degression evaporation floodlights, or ADE floodlights in short. The ADE should be kept on at all times or else the void mass will expand and destroy the entire Black Site. The void mass produces a highly reactive acid that is capable of burning through materials before it disintegrates. And when Urban Shade investigated more on the acid, it found out that void-tipped bullets were capable of passing through thick metal. With this, Urban Shade started mass-producing these bullets and selling them very expensively. This made Urban Shade a lot of money since both sides of a war would buy these bullets from them. Blow-up pancakes. With Mind Program was an experiment to allow an agent to kill someone telepathically through eye contact. This works by beaming highly radioactive waves through a victim's optic nerve, causing their brain to melt inside. In this experiment, the test subject's eyeballs are removed and put in rotten coral for 18 hours. The eyeballs are then injected with 20 milliliters of CT19 and then put back into the eye sockets. For the procedure to work, no pain medication is given to the test subject, and they have to be conscious for the entirety of the procedure. The first subject for this experiment was a bull shark, And although it survived the experiment mutated the shark by giving it a lot of eyes both on the outside and inside. The other mutation was that all the eyes turned green and the pupil was replaced with an X. The shark which was used in the experiment was later named Eyefestation. The issue of the many eyes was fixed in human trials, but the eyes remained green and the pupils still had the X. Urban Shade found no way to fix this, and all it could do is give contact lenses to the agents in order to make their eyes look normal. Let's move on to the next. After 4 online influencers had gone missing in an abandoned complex, 2 officers were sent to investigate the disappearance. Urban Shade then later received a call about what the 2 police officers described finding. They said that they found human-shaped holes and an armless wooden human. Urban Shade sent agents to the place, and 29 of these armless wooden humans. When these entities were studied more at the Hadal Black site, it was discovered that the entity only had a stomach and holes on its back where acid would shoot out of. Urban Shade took an interest in these entities because of their abilities to perfectly camouflage with their surroundings. These entities first back up into a found position and spew out acid from its back, making a hole for itself. It would then climb up into the hole and fit perfectly within the wall, while its skin changed color to fit in. Because of this behavior, the entities were given the name Wall Dwellers. Urban Shade kept the Wall Dwellers in order to figure out how their camouflage works so that it can apply it to their uniforms and equipment they need to camouflage. This next one came from Western Ireland in mid-2018 when property owners reported finding many humanoid statues made of concrete and rebar. Urban Shade was then called by one of the property owners who told them that he caught the statues moving through his land. When Urban Shade operatives arrived, they saw a herd of the statues moving through a forest and quickly captured them and transported them to the Black site. Urban Shade paid the property owners to keep it a secret, and property owners agreed. The public was told that the statues were made by an artist. Due to their appearance, the statues were named abstract art. In early 2020, Funblocks made the anti-loneliness tool and put it in convenience stores in New York after promising to get rid of loneliness. The anti-loneliness tool was a toy remote with a button, which when triggered a voice can be heard from the remote, congratulating the user for using the item and telling them their new, very real, not so imaginary friend will be with them for 2 days.
Thank you for using our limited time imaginary friend remote. We hope you enjoy the next 2 days with your very own real, not so imaginary friend.
After this, a red entity shows up behind the person who triggered it and stays exactly 40 studs away from them. This entity will always be visible no matter the obstructions. Many scared people reported this incident, and Urban Shade confiscated all the toy remotes and took them to the Black site and named it Limited Time Imaginary Friend. Urban Shade then released a fake newsletter calling the event Mass Hysteria. 3 years later, 4 Urban Shade AI prompters discovered an online user with better AI prompts than them, and this made them a bit jealous. Like any other Urban Shade operative would do in this situation, the 4 personnel tracked the user down, broke into house, and then kidnapped him along with his computer equipment. The user was interrogated and he revealed that he had managed to create a sentient AI program that uploads art it makes. He was asked how he managed to make such an AI, but he said he did not know how. The Urban Shade employees were not going to take that for an answer, so they tortured him some more. 3 hours and a few minutes into this torture, a guardsman by the name of Brian Christopher tripped and accidentally hit the user with a riffle on the head, killing him instantly. After this, the Urban Shade employees took the computer home, but the AI refused to cooperate with them. They later decided to disassemble it, but to their shock, when they were found parts originating in 1980. The computer was then taken back to Urban Shade and it was named the p.A.I.nter. The p.A.I.nter is now used by Urban Shade to mine cryptocurrency. Let's move on to the last entity. After Urban Shade lost communication with one of its cargo ships in the Norwegian Sea sometime in 2025, they sent rescue ships to check it out. But soon after reaching the cargo ship's last known location, the rescue ship's communication also cut off. Urban Shade then started taking the matter more seriously, as it could be a containment breach or a creature from the Let Van zone has surfaced. Urban Shade went to investigate again, but this time they went prepared and they found over 600 Squiddles sending distress signals in the middle of the night, and that's why the ships had lost power. Urban Shade collected the Squiddles and sank the ships, then executed all the surviving members of the crew, and 2 days before the Hadal lockdown happened, the Squiddles arrived at the Hadal Black site. Urban Shade then released a public statement saying that a storm sunk the ships and there were no survivors. So that will be all for this video. Let me know in the comments if there is anything I have missed. See you in the next video.